Welcome to Pirate Living Podcast, where we highlight ordinary people living extraordinary lives. These are pirates who take small, bold actions daily to create social change. Pirate life is all about rebelling and breaking the rules for good. Creating lasting social change starts by first breaking our inner rules. After all, the hardest rules to break are your own. The pirates we highlight have dedicated themselves to creating good trouble. You get to start or I get to start?
Oh, shit. You know what's funny is I closed my stuff and I'm like, cool, I'm just gonna listen to Kristen talk about pirates.
I can put in the intro. I think that's what I've done the other times for
okay.
I think usually we start for the other, right?
Yeah. I think we should just start it like this. I think that was a great start. Welcome to Pirate Living Podcast. Today we're going to be talking with our co-host Kristen, who is going to be we're going to talk about her next favorite pirate, and doing another pirate deep dive because those are fun and we're enjoying them and we hope you're enjoying them. And you can see we're so on the ball. But I know that Kristen is on the ball with her pirate story that she's going to tell us today.
And we've been having fun having Google create a poem for us for our guests, but we had one of our guests write a poem for us about pirate living. And so Anna Rossiter, who we had on a little while back, who likes to share her stories and poem, as a thank you, sent us a little poem about what pirate living means to her. So
amazing.
Would you? Yes. And she even put it on a little poster, which I asked her if we can share. I haven't put it on our social media yet, but I will. So this is her poem. What does pirate living mean to me? Being brave enough to live with authenticity, based on the universal laws, unchangeable despite man's many flaws. You see life as a self-fulfilling prophecy. What you get is what you believe. If you do unto others as you want done unto you, you will be soon surrounded with a loyal pirate crew. If you give more than you take, you help shape the world to be a better place. Your thoughts are yours. When they dip, lift them up. Be grateful each day that you have a cup. Keep your thoughts abundant and your life will follow suit. Vibrate with the frequency of love and truth. To be happy and balanced despite the strife is the essence of living a pirate life.
Amazing. I love that.
Yeah. And that one's actually it has rhyme unlike the Google poems.
That is way better. See, Google, there's no way AI is going to replace actual artists.
No, especially Google AI because it has no rhyme or rhythm.
No, that was amazing. Thank you, Anna. Very cool.
Yeah, and I'll put it up on the social medias too because she put in little artwork and stuff too.
Yeah, so. I love that. Hey, anybody else wants to make pirate art for us? We're here for it.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll share your creativity on the socials for sure.
Yes. And yeah. Well, are you ready to hear? So yeah, share your art. And are you ready to hear about this week's pirates, or is there anything else we need to discuss first?
No, I'm excited.
Okay. So this week or this month, I guess, since we're doing it monthly, we're going to talk about not just one, but two pirate queens because it's tricky to talk about Anne Bonny without also mentioning Mary Read. So these two women went down in pirating history as some of the deadliest pirates. So
I'm excited for this one. I was so excited when you told me that you were going to do these two.
Yeah. And it's been interesting learning about them because they're I found a bunch of different YouTube videos that I was watching on it, and there are some things that line up. Like Mary's story is pretty much the same, but Anne's story may change here and there. And then I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, it was interesting listening to them. Oh, and I also found a song about Anne Bonny, like a
Oh yeah,
pirate
you
dirge.
shared that.
Yeah, and
that was amazing.
I put it on our pirate radio. So
awesome.
Mm-hmm. So that's there as well. So we have a collaborative pirate radio. If anybody listening hasn't heard of it, it's in our on Instagram. There's a link to it. So
yeah, it's on Spotify, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So can find that and listen to the song of Anne Bonny.
Yeah, it was so good. I'm so glad you sent me that.
Yeah, that was really good. Like a really good dirge.
Yeah.
That's how you say that word, right?
Sure. Yeah. I say it so often in my normal day-to-day life, so I'm pretty certain that's how you pronounce it.
So we're gonna start with Anne Bonny. And she was born around 1700 in Ireland. Like she's another one of these that we don't have exact dates on. And some information is there. And some of it's rumors that have come about. So going with the best information that we can. So most of the information that is known about Anne comes from Captain Charles Johnson's book written in 1724 called The General History of Pirates. And you may or may not remember, but this is the same book that told the tales of Blackbeard. So this is where a lot of that the tall tales of Blackbeard came from, was this book. So again, the tales of Anne Bonny, most of what we know about her are coming from this book. So that's why there tends to be a lot less factual information and a lot more things that are like, this may have happened, it may not. And it's still a really great story. So Anne was her story starts with her father, William Cormac. He had an affair with one of his household servants named Mary Brennan while William's wife was away ill. So, wife's gone, he's in the house alone and gets Mary Brennan pregnant. And
just couldn't help himself.
So she gets pregnant and she gives birth to Anne. And once William's wife gets better, there were a few stories. I thought at first William's wife had died, but no, she didn't die. She was ill. She got better. And once she got better, William moved to London. I guess he wanted space from her. So I'm leaving. I'm going to go to London. And he took Anne and her mother Mary along with him. And so his wife and her family were giving William an allowance while he was gone. So
his wife's family?
So his wife's money's giving him money. He goes off to London. I think he said he wanted to learn about law, but yeah, he takes off, and in order to continue getting money from his wife and her family, he hides Anne's identity, and he dresses her up as a boy and calls her Andy. And then he says that Andy is his lawyer's clerk. So yeah, So I don't know what Anne was doing before this, because she couldn't have been a baby at this point in time. So somehow
they were already there, or he took them with them?
He took them with when he moves. So he moves off to London, takes Anne and her mother along. But the wife, I don't know how long she was ill. I don't even know like if she knew about Mary and Anne, but like when he moved away to London, he took Mary and Anne with him. So Mary is Anne's mom in this case. And yeah, so he's getting money from his wife, but in order to do this, he's trying to hide that he's taken his mistress and illegitimate child along with him. So he dresses. We have Andy. Yeah. And Andy is his clerk, lawyer's clerk. And well, The wife finds out that
Oh.
Andy is actually the illegitimate daughter, Anne,
Mhm.
being disguised as a boy. So she gets mad and stops sending him money.
Mm.
Cuts him off.
Mhm.
So after he's cut off from his wife's money, he decides to take Mary and Anne, move them from London, and go over to the province of Carolina in North America. So now they're moving again across the ocean. So William, he goes over, he starts learning about law, wasn't so successful there, eventually starts to get to know some merchants and becomes a profitable businessman and ends up owning a plantation outside of town. So he ends up becoming a respectable, wealthy man over in America.
Mhm.
And at the age of 12, Anne's mother died. So now it's her and William.
Mm.
And there are rumors surrounding Anne and her childhood that say she had a fiery temper and
Mhm.
she stabbed a servant girl who upset her.
Oh.
Who knows what the servant girl said? Maybe maybe it was after her mom died. She said something about her mom. Maybe she just did something
Mm.
Anne didn't like. But yeah. So one rumor says she had a fiery temper and stabbed a servant girl. And then there's another rumor that she put a young man in the hospital for several weeks after he tried to sexually assault her. So,
Well, that one I'm okay with.
yeah, that one's like, go Anne. Good
Yeah.
job. Way to
Yeah.
defend yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we start getting a picture of this growing
Mhm.
woman who has, she's standing up for herself. The one seems a little homicidal, but the other one is definitely like,
Yeah.
good job. But so despite her temper, Anne was considered a real catch and the marrying type. So her father wanted to make a respectable woman out of her.
Mhm.
So he's trying to marry her off to wealthy men, and Anne becomes wooed by penniless sailor James Bonny, who had aspirations of being a pirate. So he and Anne get married, and William, who wanted to marry his daughter off to someone wealthy, was like, I'm cutting you off. You're disowned. You're not part of this family anymore, and be gone with you.
Mhm.
So Anne and James, and by the way, James is penniless, so there's probably a chance as well that he was like, hey, I could make some money marrying this wealthy
Yeah.
Anne.
Which kind of
And
sounds like what her dad did.
yeah, it does.
Like, maybe it was like her dad was like, takes one to know one here.
Yeah, it could be. Like, I did that.
Yeah.
I see you, James.
Yeah. I've played your game.
Yeah. So yeah, he cuts off Anne, and she and James end up going off on their small time pirate adventures, and eventually end up in Nassau.
Mhm.
Which, if you recall from when I talked about Blackbeard, Nassau was the hub for pirates to hang out and have a good time. And so James and Anne are hanging out on this island, still very small time. Pirates haven't really been making any money.
Mhm.
And in 1718, James is wanting to make some money because he was having a hard time supporting himself and Anne. So he ends up becoming a pirate informant for the governor. And
Mhm.
his information ends up getting some pirates arrested. And Anne, not a fan of this. So she eventually leaves James to join up with Calico Jack Rackman, which he was another one that wasn't with Blackbeard. He was hanging out with Blackbeard, partying with him over on the island right before he got caught. Blackbeard got caught in his
Mhm.
final battle. But yeah, before Anne willingly took off with Calico Jack, she and Jack were bonding romantically, and Calico Jack tried to pay James money to divorce Anne. It was called divorce by purchase. So he tried to say, "Here, let me give you some money so I can have your wife." And James was like, "No, maybe he really liked Anne, but he was like, no.
So
I
wait,
don't.
divorce by purchase is a thing?
So I guess so. So he was basically saying like, here, take this money so I can take your wife.
Yeah, I'll
And
buy your wife off. I'll buy
yeah,
your wife off of you.
buy
And
her
I'm
from
wondering
you.
if he was struggling to pay the bills, why he wouldn't take it.
Yeah, well, maybe he actually was in love with Anne, but
Yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
guess.
I don't know. But then, yeah, so he refused, and then Anne is like later on, she's like, "See you later. I'm going off with Calico Jack." So I do wonder if
Should have
he
taken the
regretted his
money,
choice. Yeah,
right? I
yeah,
mean, yeah, she left you anyways.
she did for the person that was offering to give him some money.
Yeah. Folks, if someone wants to buy your partner,
Mm.
the moral of the story is just let them. Just let them.
Just let him.
Mhm.
So yeah, there once Anne joins Calico Jack's crew, there's rumors that Anne hid her identity on the ship and I don't know necessarily that I believe that, but the rumor was that women were considered bad luck. So she hid her identity, dressed up as a man so that they wouldn't know that there was a woman on the ship. But the reason why I don't believe it is because in Sam Conniff's book Be More Pirate, he talks about how pirate ships were very diverse and that they welcomed women, children, and slaves to work with them. So yeah, but in either way, the tales go that only Calico Jack knew Anne was a man until she couldn't hide anymore because she was pregnant with his child. So, kind of hard to hide that.
Yeah, that baby bump.
Yeah.
It's a big beer belly.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. Oh, I've just been drinking a lot of rum lately. I don't
Yeah.
know. So they end up the crew ends up dropping her off in Cuba to have the baby. And then after she delivers a child, they pick her back up. And if you were wondering what happens with a child, I really don't know. There's no there's no record of what happened. So I'd like to imagine that either she had the child sent to live with her father, or there was even the idea that Calico Jack may have had family in Cuba that would have raised the child. She could have just abandoned her child in Cuba for all I know, though. So
Interesting.
I don't know. The baby did not come with her on the ship. So the baby's in Cuba. She hops back on the ship. So I don't know.
Yeah, I never knew that.
Yeah. So then Anne gets back on the ship, and when she gets back on the ship, there's a new crew member, Mary Reed. So we'll pause and go back for Mary's beginning. So Mary, her story is somewhat similar to Anne's. She was born in 1685. So Mary, we actually have facts on, and not as much rumor, but facts. Her mother had a son with a sailor, and the sailor ended up disappearing at sea. And I heard a couple different stories that the sailor was Mary's father, and he disappeared after mom became pregnant with her. But I also heard that the sailor, that Maria had a different father than that her brother's dad. But either way, grandmother, so Mary's mom's mom supported Mary's mother by sending her money after her husband died. And so then she's pregnant. I went with the idea of she got pregnant by somebody else's by somebody else. So soon after she became pregnant by another man, she needed to hide this pregnancy. So she went to the country to live with some friends. And after she arrived, her infant son, Mary's brother, died. And then she gave birth to Mary.
Oh.
So in order to keep receiving money from the grandmother, Mary's mom dresses Mary up as her brother who died and raised her as this dead son. So grandma isn't any the wiser.
Do we know like how he died?
It was a sickness. I don't know if it was like a fever. A lot of times they say fever, like they died of fever. So I don't know. what sickness, but yeah,
Yeah.
he got sick and he died. And since, especially if Mary is an illegitimate child, it would make sense hiding that the son died.
Yeah.
But also, if Mary wasn't illegitimate, apparently grandma would have only kept paying money if the son was alive. Either way, mom's like, grandma can't know that the son died because we'll get cut off. So she ends up, raising Mary as her dead brother.
Are we sure though that it was her mom sending the money? Because it
You
would
know
make
what?
sense if it was like the sailor
True.
guy's mom.
I don't know. It just I guess I assumed it was mom's mom, but maybe it was grandma of. I thought it said her mom was getting money for her mother. I don't remember now. Now that you asked the question, I was trying to write it clearly.
I won't ask any hard-hitting questions.
It was a good one. And now that you say that, I'm curious and I was trying to like make sure it was clear, as instead of me just saying the mom of so and so.
Because it would make sense, like if okay, my mom, if I had a baby and I was married and then the husband died, I'm sure my parents would help to support me. But if I had another baby, I don't know that they it would be weird that they would be like, that one doesn't count and I'm not sending you any money.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah. So maybe it was the sailor dad, that grandma, because when you think about it too, the son's the heir to that family. Yeah. So, but I don't know, like if this was they didn't even mention who the dad was though. So maybe Mary's mom had money and this was like the son is her first child. So he would be the heir to that money. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. But either way, fooling grandma.
Yeah.
And she was fooled until the day that she died. So Mary is brought up as a boy. And grandma ends up dying around the age that in Mary's teens. So she's around 13. And now that they don't have money coming from grandma though anymore, she also needs to find a way to make some money. So she dressed as a boy and she ends up setting foot on her first ship at the age of 13 as what was called a footboy, which I did not look up what a footboy was. But that's what her first job was. And then she ends up later joining the military, where she eventually, and she's joining the military still dressed as a man. So, and there she eventually meets her husband. So since she's disguised as a man, I'm also curious about how all this unfolded because she, at least we're assuming that they think she's a man and she has been raised her whole life to pretend she's a boy. So I'm guessing she's pretty good at concealing her identity.
Yeah.
But so how this whole romance unfold, and then after it unfolds too, like what do all the people that she's fighting with
married.
What are their thoughts? Like are they, because at this time it's not legal for two men to marry anyway, so like are they thinking we fought with this person that was a woman, their minds are blown, or are they like what's going on with these two men?
I mean they must have known. I mean, if they're like legally married, they must have known them at some point that she was a woman.
Yeah. It seems like it'd be very confusing at some point in time.
I guess part of it was, so after they're married, does she keep being in the military?
So after she's married, her husband died only a few months after. They weren't married for very long. So she wasn't in the military once they got married, but because he died and their marriage, I think it was less than a year that they were married before he died. So she ends up joining rejoining the military. And at this point in time, so I believe she started off in England with the military, but ended up eventually over in the Netherlands, fighting for their military when she met her husband. So she rejoins the Dutch military after his death, which again, questions, like at this point in time, is she joining as a woman or is she disguising? I'm guessing she disguised herself again as a man because of what comes after. But yeah, she rejoins the military. And at this point in time, there's peace in the Netherlands. So there's not much room for Mary to advance. So she ends up joining a ship with the military that was sailing to the Caribbean. And this ship eventually was captured by Calico Jack. And Mary put up very little fight and willingly joined his crew. So like, oh no, my ship, it's being taken over. You want me to join your crew or die? I'll join your crew.
If you put it that way.
All right. So yeah, this catches us, brings us back up to speed, joins us with Anne. So from here on out, the stories of man, that's what they should be called, Mary and Anne, are very intertwined, which I was just thinking it'd be funny if Mary's mom's name was Anne, since Anne's mom's name was Mary, and then that'd be even more confusing.
Could be.
So yeah, so Mary is now on board the ship, disguised as a man, which she's
still a man.
Yeah. So when she was on the military ship that was going to the Caribbean, then it is known she was dressed as a man.
Okay.
So she gets on the ship and they're like, yep, you can come join us. And so, yeah, she's disguised as a man at that point in time. So when she is taken onto Calico Jack's ship, like she's disguised as a man. And so with her, at least for a little while, they don't know that Mary is a woman. So that one's
do they know what name she went under?
There wasn't written anywhere in any, like it wasn't in any of the videos I watched or anything that I read what name she went by instead of Mary.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's on Calico Jack's ship. She's dressed as a man. And since she'd pretended to be a man most of her life, this was natural to her. And then when Anne gets on the ship, she and Mary quickly become close. And there's rumors that Anne and Mary were lovers. There's also rumor, or one of the things that kept popping up in the story is that how they think Anne found out that Mary was a man was that she was feeling attracted to Mary. It was like, hey, new guy on the ship, I'm feeling attracted to you. And Mary's like, whoa, I'm a woman. And that's the idea of how Anne found out. But I like to think it was Anne's like, you're not a man. Like, I'm a woman and I can see that you are not a man.
Yeah.
Like, you might have these men fooled, but
yeah.
And it'd be really nice to talk to another woman. So, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems most likely that the two of them bonded over being women on a ship full of men, and we're just really tight friends, than that there was a romantic connection. The romantic connection seems more like it was guys being like, hey, there's two women on the ship that were both dressed as men. But either way, well, I mean, even if they were romantically involved, it doesn't matter. But
yeah, in my head they are.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
I like to think that these two cross-dressing women found each other on a pirate ship and had love. Found love in their life.
Fair enough, like, because it is just a ship of men too, and they're probably like, hey,
right? What are the odds that both of them ended up on the same ship?
Right.
It's fate.
Exactly. So yeah, whether or not they were actually romantically involved, Calico Jack did did at one point in time become jealous of Anne's relationship with Mary. And this is when Anne revealed to him that Mary was a woman. Like, hey, honey,
Like, calm your tits.
Yeah, you don't need to worry. Anne's actually, or not Anne, Mary's actually a woman, not a man. So that is when it was revealed that, we've got another woman on the ship. So now, these two, the stories go on to talk about how Anne and Mary were ruthless in battle, and they each carried a pistol and machete. And then there was a woman that was captured. She's like, they had a pistol and a machete, and they cursed a lot, and they were demanding that the pirates kill her, the woman that was on the ship, and the ship that they captured. So they also talked about I saw a few times where it said they were burying their chests. So I don't know if that means like they were going like fully shirtless and like, hey, here's a distraction, like boobs, or if it just meant that they were showing cleavage. So I'm not sure. When we use older terminology, I don't know exactly what it means. So they could have been going around like bare chested as well as part of a distraction in war. Like, haha, we've distracted you by using our feminine body parts.
Not just our wiles, we're using all of the feminine parts. Yeah, fair.
So they
probably worked.
It probably did. The Netflix pirate documentary, it talked about one distraction that pirates would use would be to be fully naked going into battle in order to distract. So I bet like women having their boobs out would also be very distraction. Oops.
But also like, can you imagine going into battle and like you got a pirate ship full of like naked dudes coming at you? You're like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. What are you doing?
Why are you coming at me naked?
Put it away.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So these two are fighting. It sounds like whenever there was a fight too, like they're side by side and they're on equal ground with the men. And there's not a ton though on the battles other than their last one, which was on November 15, 1720. And so before this, Calico Jack and his crew are mostly all drunk from partying. Does this sound like a familiar Caribbean pirate theme?
Yeah.
They don't know it's their last night, but before their last night of being pirates, they're drunk from partying too much. They have hangovers. But unlike the crew, Blackbeard's crew, like these guys are not waking up from their hangovers. They're just like, oh, I'm too drunk. But they had been celebrating because they managed to capture a Spanish commercial ship. And so they're like, woohoo, party, we're going to drink. And then, so that night, Anne and Mary are out on the deck of the boat when they see Captain Jonathan Barnett's ship approaching. And I like to think that they're chatting about their badass roles in the capture of the Spanish ship while also rolling their eyes at their sleeping drunk men, crewmates. But either way, like they're hanging out and they see a ship coming. And Barnett orders the crew to surrender. But they refuse. And I imagine, or at least I like to imagine, I want to imagine that it's Anne and Mary that were like, no, we will not surrender to you.
There will be no surrendering.
Surrendering.
I think I read or saw somewhere that the women were not drunk.
They were not. Or maybe they had some to drink because Anne was also Irish, so maybe she could hold her liquor.
That's
but
right.
They were not.
They weren't as drunk as the men. Yeah,
they were not. I'm
incapacitated.
Incapacitated. Yeah. So like, we're not surrendering our ship, and they shot at Barnett's ship. And so there was a fight that followed, but it was short-lived because most of the pirates were too drunk to fight, and it was mostly just Anne and Mary that were there doing all the fighting. And so,
Typical.
yeah, so we got the two women here trying to keep their ship and fight off the people that are trying to take them in. And it's even said that Anne was so frustrated that she shot down into the hold and yelled at the drunken pirates to come up and fight. And yeah, so she might it was on at least one of the videos that I watched. So I don't remember if they said that she killed one pirate when she shot down into the hold, or if she just shot down and she scared them. But yeah, she might have killed somebody as well when she was like, dang you, come out and fight. Help us save our ship. So because they weren't being supported in this battle, Barnett was eventually able to capture the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And all the pirates were swiftly hanged except for Anne and Mary. And this is the reasoning that came up everywhere, was because they claimed they were pregnant. Which also it was something, I should have written down the other term. It was like, it wasn't an affliction of the belly, but it was something of the belly, which were the terms that they use.
Yeah, no, that is an affliction.
It is. So, and it's funny because everything said they claimed to be pregnant. So the question is there is like, they're claiming this. It's eventually going to be found out if they're pregnant or not, right? You can only claim it for so long.
That at least buys them some time.
Mm-hmm. So turns out they were both actually pregnant. So they didn't just claim it.
Yeah. So do we know who the father for Mary was?
No. Yeah, and we can assume it was Calico Jack for Anne, but it doesn't say who got Mary pregnant.
Because we know it wasn't.
Yeah, unless they were having three ways, because maybe Calico Jack was like, hey, I really like this. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it didn't
say. Because it wasn't Anne Bonny that got Mary Read pregnant.
No, it wasn't her. So Mary's story, eventually she dies from a fever while in prison, and it's likely complications from pregnancy. So everybody, all in the pirate crew, all the men were hanged, and then Mary ends up dying while still in prison. But Anne's ending is more open-ended. So the last thing that's recorded is Anne before, so it said that before Calico Jack was hanged, Anne was allowed to visit him. Mm-hmm. And she said to him, had you fought like a man, you need not have been hanged like a dog. Mm-hmm. And so pretty much she's still mad at him for not fighting and helping protect their ship from this. So
yeah, well, I mean, she's gotten caught too, right?
Yeah, that too. It's like, here I was trying to protect us all. You didn't even fight. Like, had you come out and fought like a man, we wouldn't have been here.
Yeah.
So yeah, after that, for all we know, Anne disappeared into the clouds, but there aren't records after that point. So some like to believe that since her dad was well known, he offered to take responsibility for her and her child, and that she went to go live on the plantation, which is most likely, like, it seems like the most likely thing that happened was like, hey, you know me, I'm well standing among here. This is my daughter. I did disown her a while ago, but still, this is my daughter.
Yeah.
Like, I will take her and I will like make sure she doesn't keep pirating. But yeah, that seems most likely what happened. But there's others that like to think that she settled down, remarried, had 8 more children, and died at the age of 88.
That's very specific.
It is.
Okay.
But this one's one of my favorite. Others like to think that Anne herself was Captain Charles Johnson, who wrote the general history of the pirates. So she may.
Captain Charles Johnson?
Yeah,
I'm looking it up immediately.
Yeah, nobody actually knows who Captain Charles Johnson is. Another name that comes along with it is the last name's Defoe. I don't remember the first name, but they don't actually know. So Captain Charles Johnson was like a pen name for who wrote the book.
Yeah.
So it could be anybody, and so some people like to think it was Anne who wrote the story.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Either way, like that story had a lot of tall tales within it, but yeah, that's where I wonder if part of it is too, is that's where a lot of Anne's, like what's written about her is told.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, another one that I saw that people think Anne may have gone back over to Ireland or maybe even England, but either way, back to the UK. And opened up a pub and was regaling people with her stories of her pirating days, which then the Anne Bonny song would be a great song to be singing in her pub.
Absolutely. I like that ending because that goes along with my pirate queen that retired and opened a gambling house.
Yeah.
like yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Like I like to think of them as still out there, entrepreneuring and being bad bitches.
Yeah.
Generally.
And yeah, so whatever happened to her, she and both Mary made up names for themselves as fierce female pirates who were equals with the men on their ship. So yeah, they went out there and they were badasses.
I love that. Yeah, in my mind, that's totally a queer sapphic love story as well.
Yeah,
they were in love. It just makes me feel better.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too to me that like since Mary had disguised herself her whole life, like you think about she's putting on the most masculine front that she can because this is how she's been raised her whole life. And so no one's the wives are like this is actually a female here. And so then Calico Jack's like, Anne, like, what are you doing? Like jealous of the time that she and Mary. So yeah, whether or not there was a romance there, I almost like the fact that it was more a friendship of them just like sitting around talking and bonding together, because then Calico Jack's coming in like, Anne, what do you think you're doing? Like cheating on me with this new person? And then she's like, oh, this is my best friend. Like, this is another female. She tricked you. Yeah. So either way, though, it's still it's a great story, and they two women fighting together, especially at the end. Like, we've got this. We're gonna protect our ship, and sadly, the men did not fight with them.
That sucks. Always getting let down there. Yeah.
But at least it wasn't a bloody ending like Blackbeard's, where he was like, I'm taking the, like, even though they're drunk, we're going to fight. And then just almost the whole entire crew gets slaughtered, except for, I think it was 16 or 18 men that were still alive. So,
that was a good, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Two. That was a good two.
That was
good one. That's really cool.
Yeah. Well, and so it was interesting doing the research on it, because like I said, there were things that were coming up while doing the research that I was like, I don't know if I believe this, like talking about how women were considered bad luck on pirate ships, because from what's written in how in Be More Pirate is that the pirates would, if they captured a ship, they'd take on like, hey, women, children, slaves, if you want to come join our crew, like come join us. So I don't know why the story of women being considered bad luck was something that was coming up often when I was doing the research. Or
maybe it was like women could be on the ship but actually being part of the crew. Maybe there's a distinction there.
Maybe.
I don't know.
So, yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Kitty says Kitty says the session is over.
Oh, okay.
Wow,
Yep.
she's a very vocal young lady, or I should say old lady. And I hope you all heard that.
I'm sure it got caught in your mic.
Amazing. Well,
So,
thank you
yeah.
so much for that.
You're
And
welcome.
yeah, I better pick a new pirate. I have a
Mm.
couple in my mind that I'm like curious about. So
Yeah.
I gotta settle on wanting and get researching.
Did you see the well, I sent it without context, but you get to see the link that of the 10 notorious.
Yes.
Notorious. Yes. I figured out the one female that I was trying to remember who had started piracy later in life and actually already had money. Grace O'Malley.
Mm.
And then there's one at the very end that's a princess that I don't know if it's a real tale, but it was about like this. I think she was a Swedish princess that ended up becoming a pirate. So there's a few stories in there of women pirates that I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, have some
Amazing.
dig into. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Yeah, I think there was someone on there that I had seen that I hadn't even considered as pirate. And so I was thinking about doing that one. So we'll leave it at that. I won't give it away.
I'm
Who
curious.
it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we'll do this again in next month.
Yeah. All right. I need to remember how to end these things, just like we need to figure out how to begin these things.
Right.
All right. Until next time, I will stop recording.